Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Saranāgamanaṃ sampunnaṃ. Pānātipātā vīramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Adinādānā vīramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Kāmesu miccācārā vīramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Musāvādā vīramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Surāmēraya majjapamā dattānā vīramani sikkāpadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Tisaranena saddhim pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkitaṃ kattvā appamādena sampādē tabbhaṃ. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammā sambuddhassa. Mano pubbhangamā dhamma mano settha manomaya. Manasāce paduttena bhāsati vā karoti vā. Tato nan dukkhaman veti chāyāva anapāyini. Tato nan dukkhaman veti cakkhaṃva vahato padaṃ. Manasāce pasannena bhāsati vā karoti vā. Tato nam sukhaman veti chāyāva anapāyini. Very good evening to everyone. And I warmly welcome you all to our first program of sharing the Dhamma with our youth members. First of all, I would like to say thank to members of the youth group and also the executive committee members of youth group for inviting me to talk on this special occasion, and the talk will be on mindfulness. The topic of today's session, today's talk is how does mindfulness help us to manage our life as a youth. So it is very important and relevant topic for you to learn something, right? You don't have to be a Buddhist to know about the mindfulness, and you don't have to be a Buddhist to practice mindfulness. So mindfulness is one of the most important and unique aspects of teachings of the Buddha. So you have selected one of the most important and usual topics or teachings of the Buddhism to get some ideas about mindfulness and how do we practice mindfulness, and what are the important factors and aspects that we can learn and can put them to practice when we learn mindfulness. So in that way, thinking about, considering about all these benefits, so I decided to prepare myself in details to teach you something very important about mindfulness. So I'm going to teach you something very important and useful aspects of mindfulness for you to learn. Okay, listen carefully. Since today we are going to learn about mindfulness, I would like to give you some advice for you to prepare yourself before you listen to the talk. Perhaps some of you may have heard about this advice of the Buddha before. If you have heard one of my previous Dhamma talks, I usually advise our children for them to prepare before they want to listen to the teachings of the Buddha. So I want to give you that advice for you to keep in your mind and also to prepare yourself before you listen to the talk. The Lord Buddha has advised us, if anybody wants to listen to his teaching, if anybody likes to listen to his teaching, if anybody has interest to listen to his teaching, these steps need to be followed by those listeners, right? So what are the steps that you have to follow, you have to keep in your mind when you want to listen to the teachings of the Buddha? There are 3 steps that you have to keep in your mind when you practice, when you listen to the teachings of the Buddha. The first step is that Sunata. What do you mean by Sunata? You have to listen carefully and attentively. I want you to pay your attention towards my talk and do not let your mind to travel to the past and the future. If you let your mind to travel into the past and future, nothing will go to your mind. Isn't that so? So therefore, my suggestion, the Lord Buddha's suggestion is you to keep your mind in this moment, in here, right now. So, sometime, why do I say to that? Why do I have to say that? Why Lord Buddha has to say that? Because sometimes, even though your physical bodies are with us now, with here, but sometimes your mind is may not be with you. Isn't that so? Sometimes your mind may in some other place, but your physical bodies are here, but mind is not with you. That is the nature of the mind, right? So don't let your mind to travel to the past and the future. Try to keep it here. Try to be in this present moment when you listen, okay? That is the first step that you have to undergo, you have to take, and you have to keep in your mind. Sunata, listen carefully, attentively. And also the second step that you have to keep in your mind, you have to practice, is dhareta. What do you mean by dhareta? That means we have to put some effort to remember some of the key points that I'm talking here, right? Perhaps you may not be able to remember each and every practice of the talk I am talking here, but you may have to put some effort to remember some key points, okay? At least some key points that you think, oh, those are very useful to me, those are very crucially important to my life, so then try to put some effort to remember them, okay? And that's the second step. The third one, Sunata Dhara Charata. That is the most important, very crucially important factor of these 3, the Charata. That means you have to apply those teachings into your life, right? You have to put them into practice, right? Let's say like this, you come to listen to the teachings of the Buddha, maybe you listen attentively, maybe you remember something, but if you do not put them into practice, it is useless, right? Coming here is useless if you do not apply them into your life. So my goal is, the teachings of the Buddha's goal is to practice the teachings of the Buddha. Listen attentively, try to remember them, put them into practice. That is how we benefit the teachings of the Buddha. Then that is how you can taste the real taste of the teachings of the Buddha, right? And he has given a very beautiful example when he gave these steps, these methods for the practitioner or listener to prepare themselves to listen. He said, suppose you are sick, okay? When you are sick, when you get sick, what do? You usually go to the doctor. Why? Because you want to recover from the sicknesses. That's the purpose of going to the doctor, right? There's no any other things. So we go to see the doctor, and doctor may prescribe you, instruct you, okay, this is the cause of your sicknesses, and this is the problem of your sickness. I suggest you, I recommend you to take this medicine, to take this kind of medicine. He advises you, okay, well, as a patient, you bring this medicine back home, and without taking them properly, you may put the medicine inside the drawer or somewhere else. without taking them properly. Can you be able to get recovered from your sicknesses? Indeed, no. Then what do you have to do? You have to take them accordingly. After the breakfast or after the lunch or dinner or before meal or after meal. You have to take them, right? Then when you take, that's how you can get recovered from the sicknesses. Likewise, if you come to listen to the teachings of the Buddha and you listen carefully and then you put some effort to remember them, but if you do not practice them, if you do not apply those teachings to your life, then the teachings of the Buddha do not going to help you to manage your life, right? So your goal should be you take these teachings and apply to your life, okay? So that is the valuable advice from the Buddha. If you really want to get the benefits from coming here. So today, our topic is mindfulness. What do you know about mindfulness? I know most of you may have learned about mindfulness, right? So today I have quoted one of the beautiful stanzas of the Dhammapada. Have you heard about Dhammapada? Yeah, you may have learned and you may have heard. The first two stanzas of the Dhammapada, Mano Pubbhangama Dhamma, Mano Setta Manomaya, Manasache Paduttena Bhasativa Karotiva, Tatonan Dukkhamanveti Chakkang Vahato Padam. The Buddha said that clearly in that stanza. Mind matters the most, and mind is the forerunner of everything. Mind is the main agent of all the mental, physical, verbal actions, right? So the mind is the main agent of our daily life, right? So the Buddha said that if somebody can control this mind, he said that in this, according to this stanza, he said, since the mind is the main agent of your verbal and physical and mental actions, if a person, if with an impure mind, uncontrolled mind, unmindfulness person, if that person speaks, acts, so the suffering like sorrow, grief, lamentation, anger, hatred, ill will follow him, just like the wheel that follows the foot of the ox, right? That's the explanation, the meaning of this stanza. So that means whatever you do physically, verbally, mentally with impure mind, you have to be responsible for the consequences of those actions, right? In another stanza he said, with an pure mind, a controlled mind, if someone acts, speaks, verbally, mentally, physically, happiness, success, and also, what else? Happiness, success, and also joy always follow you, just like your shadow, right? So that's the meaning of these stanzas. So therefore, we have to control our mind. We have to train our mind if you want to experience happiness, success, joy in your life. Okay, if you do not control your mind, if you do not have well mindfulness, then suffering, anger, depression, stress, jealousy, anger, all those unwholesome states of the mind may come to you. Understand? So therefore, please, it is your obligation and it's your duty to watch and look after your mind, right? So I am going to teach you the important factors and important results of the mindfulness, right? You can get if you have controlled mind. So first of all, we have to understand what is mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is full awareness of what is happening around you, right? You are aware and you are attentive of the things that is happening or that are happening around us. Full of awareness of what is happening around you. So if we understand the negative opposite side of mindfulness, so sometimes you may be get full understanding of mindfulness. What are the opposite side of mindfulness? Lack of attention, carelessness, absent-mindedness, and also forgetfulness, negligence, and neglect. So those are the opposite side of mindfulness. Now you understand, maybe if you understand opposite side of mindfulness, so you may understand the harm that all those opposite side of mindfulness may bring to our life, right? What happens if you act carelessly, unmindfully? A lot of harm may come to our life, right? A lot of difficulties may come to our life. So therefore, we had to understand that. We had to understand the opposite side of mindfulness in order to avoid from all the harm that may bring to our life, right? So in that way, when I say that opposite side of mindfulness, maybe a little bit you get closer, or you may get some kind of understanding about mindfulness, right? So, as I said earlier, mindfulness is paying full of attention what is happening around you. Now, what is happening right now? You are aware of that, right? The Dhamma talk is ongoing, so now you are aware of that activity. That is called mindfulness awareness. You have full of awareness of what is happening right now. According to Buddhism, the Buddha said that we have to be very observe all the type of feelings, thoughts, sensation of taste, touch, smell, sight, sound. So what the Buddha wanted to tell is that in every activities we have to be very mindful. Even our physical, mental, verbal, all the activities when we perform, we have to be very mindful. That is called mindfulness. You know that even though the concept of mindfulness started during the times of the Buddha, but it came to practice widely. It became a very widely practiced factor after the Second World War too. After the Second World War. Why do you think that? Why this concept of mindfulness became a very common practice after the Second World War? Why do you think? Because there are a lot of reasons for that. Modern psychologists, they have explained the reason why this mindfulness became a very important teaching or important factor at the modern time. He said, many psychologists said, due to rapid industrialization, globalization, westernization, modernization, people had to work very hard, right, to earn money, right? Because when those things happen in the society, people had to work very hard in order to earn money. Why? Because they had to pay their mortgage and loans and so on, right? The expectation, a lot of expectations are there, so they had to work very hard to earn their living. And also, they had to search for many jobs. Sometimes doing one job may not enough. They had to find few jobs in order to earn their living, right? And also sometimes because of the cost of living increased after the Second World War, right? And also divorce cases increased, right? A lot of divorce cases took place after the Second World War. And also people had to work long hours. They had to work long hours, and because of that they did not have enough time to rest, right? And also desire. They have a lot of desires for material things, immaterial things. They look for a lot of pleasurable things, look for a lot of pleasure. And also they have a lot of attachments to things. Because of this matter, the life became full of challenges, right? They have a lot of challenges because of these changes, modernization, westernization, and globalization, and so on. So because of this reason, people get frustration, depression, stress, angry, jealousy, sad, fear, hatred, anxious, and also busy, lustful, resentful, recklessness, and sometimes they addicted to drugs. Why? Because of this competitive lifestyle, right? Because of this competitive life situation, they had to go through all these difficulties in their life. So then, psychologists came to a conclusion. Why? What are the causes for these reasons? Why people act like this? What are the consequences of these behaviors of the people? And they came to a conclusion, it is because of uncontrol of their body and mind. Because uncontrol of their body and mind. So that is their conclusion. And that is how mindfulness came into practice widely after the Second World War II, or after the Second World War. Understand? So we belong to them, right? We belong to that category. We belong to that society because we are also living in this competitive society. We have a lot of attachments, we have a lot of hopes, right? We have a lot of desire, and we expect a lot of things in the future, right? So in that way, that's how this kind of frustration, stress, anger can cause a lot of problems, right? Because of uncontrol of the mind, because of the unmindfulness, and also uncontrol of the body. So why do we need to do that? We need to control our mind. We have to develop mindfulness. If you want to overcome from these unwholesome mental conditions of the mind, right? So that's all about the background information about mindfulness. Now we have to understand the nature of the mind. What is the nature of the mind? Again in the Dhammapada, Buddha said that, Durangamang ekacharang asarirang guhasayam. The Buddha said that in the Dhammapada again. What is the nature of the mind? It travels far distance, right? The mind travels very far distance. You can imagine. Now you can try. Be here, try to go to USA, try to go to Sri Lanka, try to go some parts of the Melbourne or some parts of the Australia. It is possible. Isn't that so? You can go to the future. You can go to the past. That is the nature of the mind. The Buddha said that it travels far distance. It is beyond our control, actually. Right? Durangama, ekacharang, dwells alone. The mind always dwells alone. And it has no structure. It does not have a body. It lives in the body, but it does not have a structure. Right? So the Buddha said that if someone can control this kind of wandering mind, he can escape from all those suffering. Right? He said that Durangamang ekacharang asarirang guhasya ye chittan sanyamessanti mokkanti mara bandhana. If someone can control this mind, this wandering mind, if that someone can develop mindfulness, and that person can escape from all kind of suffering. That is the teachings of the Buddha in the Dhammapada. And we all have monkey mind. What does monkey usually do? The monkey mind always jumps from one moment to another, one place to another. Our mind also the same like that. The mind does not remain for a single second as it is. It's always continuously travels from one moment to another, right? From one thought to another. And also from one single moment to another moment, right? Many people spend thinking about the past and the future, right? Sometimes they think about the past, right? And sometimes they worry about the future. Sometimes some people spend thinking about the past memories. If the memories and incidents are good, they enjoy it. But if the memories and the incidents are bad, they lament, grieve, sad, right? They get frustration because, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done it. I should have asked someone before I do it. So you have such kind of negative thoughts in the mind because your mind always likes to deal with past and future, right? Past and future. So that is the nature of the mind. This mind does not remain as it is for a second unless you do not watch it. Unless if you watch carefully your mind, you can control it. You can you can control your mind not to let to travel to the past and the future, right? It is you are the responsible person to watch your mind, no one else. No, your mother, your father can control your mind except you, right? And also, you know that some negative thoughts, lust, hatred, jealousy, pride, stress, depression, frustration, are all these negative tendencies of the mind are due to unmindfulness and uncontrol of the mind, right? Those unwholesome states may not arise automatically, even though those things arise automatically. If you do not nourish them, if you do not fertilize them, they come and go, right? That's the nature of the thoughts and nature of the minds. As long as you welcome all those negative thoughts and you let them to grow in your mind, you may experience a lot of bad result of those thoughts. You try to react them, you try to respond them, right? So the more you respond, the more you react to those negative tendencies in the mind, the greater you experience unhappiness, grief, lamentation, frustration, stress, right? That's why we had to always observe our thoughts, negative and positive thoughts. I want to give a very good example. Let's say if you are a VCA student, right? Let's say that next year you're going to take VCA exam, right? So maybe you have a lot of thinkings. How can I gonna do this exam? What if I don't do the exam very well? And what if I can't get the marks as I and my parents expect? And what will my teachers tell? My parents may tell me if I do not get high marks. And if I do not get high marks, I may not be able to go to the university, and I may not be able to follow a degree course of science or engineering or whatever things. So you may have such kind of negative thoughts in the future about VC exam, right? You haven't done it, but you have a lot of negative thinkings about VC exam. Then sometimes because of this thinking pattern, what will happen? Sometimes the student may give up studying. Sometimes that student may stop revising, right? Completely stop revising and give up. Why? Because that person has a lot of negative thinkings about the exam, right? You don't have to think all those negative thoughts about the exam. What you need to do is focus right now, right here, and work hard. Be in the present moment. Don't think about what will happen if I do this and if I don't do that. If you keep thinking in this manner, definitely you won't be a successful person. So therefore, always we have to be in the present moment. Do the things properly, being in the present, right? So because of this thinking pattern, sometimes this student, he may get a lot of emotions like what? Sometimes they get frustration, anger, hatred. Why do I have to do this exam? Who introduced this exam? So you may have some kind of negative thoughts in the mind, right? You get frustration, anger, hatred, right? Because of this thinking pattern, right? That's the danger of your mind. If you let your mind to travel to the future and travel to the past, then that mind creates a lot of problems. That's why we had to let the mind to be in the present moment. Because of this thinking pattern, because of this frustration, anger, and stress, and the people find some solution, they try to react to those negative tendencies. They try to sometimes respond to those negative thoughts of the mind. How do they respond? Sometimes they find liquor. They get addicted to liquor, drugs. Sometimes they commit suicide. And sometimes they like to be isolated. Why? Because they don't want to see anyone else. Why? Because they live in fear. Fear of worrying about the VZ exam, right? Don't ever let your mind to control you. You control your mind, right? So that's the danger of the uncontrolled mind. One day I had opportunity to join or take part in the Buddhist conference. It was on mindfulness, and one person asked questions from the speaker. This person asked, well, I really enjoy your presentation on mindfulness, and I really enjoy this mindfulness workshop or mindfulness course. I have been practicing mindfulness since 2 years now. So one day I was cutting vegetables. One day I was chopping vegetable, and suddenly somebody called me. And accidentally I chopped my finger. I accidentally cut my finger. What is the mistake of my practice? He asked. It is obvious, right? What is the mistake? What is the mistake of that practice? He said, I was practicing mindfulness so long already. But one day I was cutting vegetables and suddenly somebody called me, and accidentally I cut my finger, I chopped my finger. What is the mistake of my practice? He asked. What is the mistake? It's a mistake because we are not aware of what we are doing, right? That person may not be aware of the action that he was doing at that time, right? He was not aware of the activity he was engaged in, right? That's the cause. It is obvious. So whenever you do any activity, if you can be mindful all the time, the danger may not come to you because you know the actions that you are doing, right? And also, another venerable told me, you may have heard about that venerable, Hene Pula Gunaratana, and he lives in USA, and he is, I think, over 96 years old now. He is a very well-educated monk and practitioner of meditation. He has written a book. Book name is Mindfulness in Plain English. If you are interested, please read it. It's a very interesting book. And he told me, I was listening to his talk, and in that talk he told to the audience, it's like that. It's like somebody is holding a mindfulness in plain English in his hand, met with an accident, right? So somebody in Argentina, it's really happened thing in Argentina. In Argentina, somebody was holding his book, and he crossed the road. And accidentally, he was hit by a car, and he died. And he was holding the book, which is called Mindfulness in Plain English. But you can have mindfulness in the book, but sometimes you do not have mindfulness in practice, right? Sometimes you may have heard about the mindfulness all the time, but in terms of the practice, no, right? You can have mindfulness in the book, but if you do not have mindfulness in practice in you, you're going to be in trouble, right? That's what happened if we are not mindful. And most of the time, why we are not mindful nowadays? Why? Because we are addicted to modern technological devices, right? Sometimes we use mobile phones all the time. When we watch TV, when you listen or whatever we do, when we cross the road, when we drive, we always like to use mobile phones, right? Because that is the reason why the Australian government has had to introduce a new rule. Please do not use mobile phone while you are driving. It causes you problems, it causes you damages, it causes you to get accidents, right? So, in the same way, if we are not mindful when the activities that we are doing, the danger may come to us anyway, right? That is why it is always very good to be mindful all the time, right? Sometimes when we watch TV, at the same time we do different things, right? When we eat something, at the same time we do different things. When you read the book, at the same time you do something else, right? When you read the book, and after you read the few pages of the book, and next time, few hours later, if I come and ask you, what you have read? What was in the book? What you have read? So no one can answer it. Why? Because you really have not put full of attention on reading. You had a lot of things at the same time. You have done a lot of things at the same time while you were doing something else, right? And also this happened to me also sometime. You know, during the evening puja, when I recite Pirit, sometimes if my mind jumps to the past and the future, I don't know what is the next Pali stanza to be recited. I always had to wait someone else to start. That's the danger of the mind, right? It's always like that. When we're doing something, while we are doing something, if our mind travels to the past or future, we suddenly forget what we were doing. What are we doing, right? That is the danger of this mind. And sometimes, if someone asks you, what did you eat for the breakfast today and yesterday or lunch? Can you tell me? Do you remember? Can you tell? It is not possible. It is possible. Most of the time we are forgetful, right? We don't remember what we have eaten or what we have had for breakfast and lunch, right? Because we usually forget, because we are not mindful of eating, because we do a lot of things at the same time, right? We are not mindful of in one particular things at the one time. So therefore, we had to always watch this mind. We had to be always mindful all the time whenever you do our daily activities, right? Why? Because the past is gone. Past is beyond, is already gone, and it's already happened. Nothing we can do to change the past, right? Past is already gone. Nothing you can do to change the past. Isn't that so? And the future is beyond our control. You even though you imagine the future will be like this, like that, it won't happen in that way. It is beyond our control, right? It is beyond our control. So therefore, it is good if we can be in the present moment, in this moment, right here, right now. And you can minimize all those dangers and accidents if you can be mindful all the time in your life. The point is not to forget thinking about the past and future. Of course, it is not. What I want to tell is that what mindfulness really wants us to think about, we always had to be mindful all the time. We had to be in this present moment. Do not let your mind to travel to the past and future. If you let your mind to travel to the past and future, then you can't have a control mind. You may have a monkey mind. So if you have monkey mind, a lot of dangers may come to you. A lot of unsuccessful conditions may happen to your life, right? So a lot of unfailure things may come to your life. Therefore, it is always good to be mindful all the time. That is always the psychologists emphasize us to have a mindfulness in order to minimize the mistakes and accidents that we do in our daily life. So now I want to tell you how mindfulness in Buddhism, what the Buddha has told about mindfulness. All the things that I previously talked, most of the psychologists and some others researchers, they have told about mindfulness. Now let us look at what Buddhism tells about mindfulness. The mindfulness is named as sati in Pali, right? Sati. Sati is a Pali word for mindfulness. And the mindfulness is a very unique aspect of Buddhism. And the main purpose of practicing mindfulness is to end the suffering, attain the bliss of Nibbana. But anyone can practice mindfulness in order to have a peaceful mind and successful life, right? It doesn't have to be a goal to get enlightenment. But if you want to have a peaceful life, successful life, you can practice mindfulness. The Lord Buddha has mentioned about mindfulness in various places, right? You can find a lot of teachings about mindfulness which Buddha has told in many discourses of his teachings, and Dhammapada also you can find a lot of relevant teachings of mindfulness. The mindfulness is not an isolated practice actually. The Buddha said that mindfulness is not an isolated practice. It has to be practiced with other factors of Noble Eightfold Path, right? Especially mindfulness always should go with morality, right? Let's say that you may have mindfulness to steal something, to kill someone, right? You may have to have mindfulness in order to kill someone, right? For example, if you go for hunting, you don't have to make noises, right? You have to target the prey, right? You have to kill the person, you have to shoot the person without disturbing, right? Therefore, you step slowly, mindfully, silently, right? Why? Because you want to kill. So, in that way, mindfulness can use to killing or stealing or doing all those unwholesome activities. So, therefore, the mindfulness should be always practiced with, it always should be with morality, at least with morality, right? Morality, precepts. Your mindfulness should go with the precept. That's how the Buddha said. And also there are two aspects of mindfulness in Buddhism. One is present moment awareness, as psychologists explain, modern psychologists explain, present moment awareness. And also another aspect of mindfulness in Buddhism is smriti. That means memory. Memory. So the mindfulness always should go with memory. What do you mean by memory? That means we have to practice mindfulness using the lessons and experience we have learned from the past. Right? You can use those lessons or experiences that you have in your life from the past. Example, drinking. Let's say that one day you may have drunk and you may have used alcohol. And if you have the experience of drinking alcohol and you know how you acted, if you can remember, or if you have heard about this, and if you have seen how the people act when they get drunk. So if you have that kind of experience, that kind of memory, you can use that memory to make a right decision, right choice, whether I am going to drink today or not. If I take this liquor, I may have to get experience what I had in the future. So that's smriti. Did you get that? Yeah. The mindfulness should be always based with memory, past memory. By thinking past experience and memories, you can decide whether you want to do it again or not. You can make a right decision using your past experiences and memory. Right? That's the Buddhist. That's how the Lord Buddha explained that. And another one of the beautiful discourses of the Buddha, he said, Makkata Sutta, one of the beautiful teachings of the Buddha. If you are interested, you can read Makkata Sutta. It is simile. Buddha has given a very beautiful simile of foolish monkey. The foolish monkey, there was some group of monkeys in the Himalayas, and one day the trappers, they want to catch the monkeys, and they set up a trap in the jungle. And the mindful monkeys and the wise monkeys, they avoided the trap. But foolish and unmindful monkey came to that range and others' territory, and then that monkey got into the trap, and he was caught by, the monkey was caught by the trapper. So in that discourse, this monkey, after he got trapped into the trap, he tried to escape using various ways. Right? He used his first hand to get out of the trap, and he used the second hand to release the first hand, and he used again 2 legs and also mouth. So in that way, he used all his possible ways to escape from that trap, but finally he could not move at all. He was trapped into the trap, right? He could not move. So the Buddha compared these 2 hands and 2 legs and mouth to the 5 senses, right? 5 senses. What are those? Our eyes, nose, ears, tongue, body. So these are the agents. These are the faculties that we communicate with the world, right? Those are the doors that we deal with the society, deal with the world. So if you are mindful with those doors, the danger may not come to you, right? If you watch your eyes when you see the photo or picture, if you use your mindfulness to realize that, but it's explained in a deeper level, like impermanence, but in your age, you don't have to think about that. But using this, when we deal with the 5 senses, using 5 senses to deal with the world, we have to be very mindful. Otherwise, you will be like a monkey who trapped into the that trapper's trap, right? If you let your mind to travel to the past, travel to the future, the territory of the past and future, or range of the past and future, so you may encounter danger in your life, just like a monkey who got trapped into the trap, right? So therefore, it's always, the Buddha said that if you can be in the present moment, if you can be a very mindful person all the time, the dangers may not come to your life. And another beautiful discourse of the Buddha, Satipatthana Sutta. You may have heard about the Satipatthana Sutta. Have you heard about that discourse? In that discourse, Buddha has given 4 foundations of mindfulness. It's a very beautiful discourse. Please read it. And it's a very systematic and philosophical explanation of the Buddha about the mindfulness, how we should be mindful all the ways in our day-to-day life. In that discourse, Buddha has given mindfulness of the body, especially mindful of breathing, walking, sitting, meditation, right? When you breathe in, breathe out, you have to be very mindful. Why? Because the purpose of practicing this, purpose of training, is to bring your mind into this present moment, not to let your mind to travel to the past and future. And also the mindfulness of the feelings. Yeah, when you get pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feelings, you have to be very mindful. In that discourse, Buddha has explained. And also the mindfulness of mind. When you get hatred mind, deluded mind, and also greedy mind, you have to be very mindful, right? If you are not mindful, maybe you react, maybe you respond to those thoughts, to those greedy mind, to those deluded mind, right? And also the mindfulness of the Dhamma, the mindfulness of 4 noble truths, and also 5 hindrances. So we have to be very mindful. This is a very deeper level of Satipatthana. If you practice Satipatthana from the beginning to the last, to the bottom level of the practice, you may experience the mindfulness of the Dhamma, the true nature of the things, right? The life. So that is how this mindfulness has explained in Buddhism, right? And also not only that, the Buddha has advised his venerable monks to practice mindfulness all the time, right? Not only for the lay people, but also for the monks and nuns, we had to practice mindfulness. You know that there are 4 requisites monks deal with, right? Robes, food and lodgings, and also medicine, right? Drinks, like soft drinks like gilampasa, chivara, senasana, pindapata, gilanaprat. So these 3 requisites, when you deal with these 4 requisites, we have to be very mindful. When you use robe as a monk, we have to be mindful. I use this robe in order to cover my nakedness. We have to be mindful like that. We have to reflect in that matter. I use this robe not to decorate my body. I use this to cover my body, to get protection from insect and cold and winter. And when we consume food, we have to be very mindful. I use this food, I consume this food just to overcome from my hunger, not to enhance my physical strength, but to overcome from my hunger. And also to lead my celibacy life without worry, and without any difficulties. And that's how you may have seen when the monk, before they consume the food, they had to recite some stanzas, right? Usually we recite that in order to reflect why I use this robe, why I use this food, what is the purpose of consuming this food. So we have that kind of mind, we have to be very mindful all the time. Our physical actions, we have to be mindful. We have to be mindful throughout our verbal and mental and physical actions all the time, right? That's the advice of the Buddha. And also, when you observe the five precepts, the Buddha said that we have to be very mindful when you observe the five precepts. When you keep the five precepts, please be mindful. If you are not mindful, you may break the precepts, right? The precept only will be broken if you are not mindful. Therefore, when you keep the precepts, you have to be very mindful. Now, I will quickly go through some of the benefits that we can get practicing mindfulness. Okay, since we are running out of time, I'm going to tell you very brief benefits that we can get by practicing mindfulness. The Buddha, in one occasion, he said, "Sati sabbhatika." Means mindfulness in advantages in every activity. He has given very nice words for this mindfulness. And also he has said, appamada, that means vigilance and mindfulness. If you want to be a successful person, appamada, vigilance and mindfulness is the very good remedy for your success. Okay? So let's talk about the benefits that we can get by practicing mindfulness. Although ultimate goal of practicing mindfulness is to get enlightenment, but we can experience huge benefits practicing mindfulness in our daily life, right? The Buddha has compared control mind to a magnifying glass. He has compared this mindfulness to a magnifying glass. Why do we use magnifying glass? When we use magnifying glass to concentrate the sunlight on it, then we can produce fire on the paper, right? And also, the Buddha has compared this mindfulness to a solar panel. We use solar panels to concentrate the sunlight to produce electricity. So in the same manner, if one can control this wandering mind, if that person can develop mindfulness, he can experience, he can gain a lot of success in his life. A lot of benefits he can get, right? Try to make your life like a magnifying glass, like a solar panel. Don't let your mind travel to the past and future. If you waste spending time thinking the past, spending time thinking in the future, you will waste your golden time. Be in the present moment, be in the right here, right now. So, mindfulness may help us to, in our day-to-day life, and also work, and also relationships, and also overall for the well-being of our life. The mindfulness may help, right? If I give you a very good example, the stressful thoughts, sometimes some stressful thoughts come to our mind, right? Sometimes even at night, sometimes you may have a lot of thoughts bother in the mind. Sometimes you may find some difficulties of sleeping when you have a lot of thoughts in the mind, right? So some stressful thoughts may come and go. But if you do not welcome them, if you do not nourish them, or if you do not fertilize them, those stressful thoughts come and go. But if you let them to come and if you let them to stay in the mind, then you may experience unsuccessful life in your day-to-day life. You will never experience happiness or success in your life if you let all those stressful thoughts come and stay in the mind and come and grow in the mind. So therefore the Buddha said that whenever you have that kind of stressful thoughts, please be aware of them and be mindful to know about the thoughts and let them go. And do not let them come and stay in the mind. Okay? Doing that, if you observe your feelings and thoughts and stressful thoughts, and if you do not let them to come into your mind and grow in the mind, so easily you can reduce stress and also anxiety, right? As long as you keep them in the mind, you increase your stress and you increase your anxiety. So therefore, whenever they come into your mind, do not respond to them, do not react to them. Just observe them and let them go. Do not let them grow in the mind, right? You can do it. You yourself can do that. You yourself control your mind. No one else can control the mind. Only us, we can control our mind, right? And also you can develop interpersonal relationship if you have mindfulness. Sometimes if you lead a busy life, so if you have a very busy life, sometimes you may have sometimes you do not have much time to communicate with your family members, your partners, or your co-workers or someone else. You may not have time to communicate with them, right? Because you have a very busy life. So communication is communication is always different. Communication is the main approach to make our relationship strong, right? If you can communicate with the co-workers or with your friends or family relatives, so you can make your friendship relationship stronger. So if you don't have time, so you may get distracted with them, right? You do not have time to be, but if you are mindful, you know what kind of words to use in a difficult situation, in a different situation, right? Let's say that if you're both not in the mood, but if you try to say some joke, it doesn't work in that way, right? So being mindful in that situation, you know what kind of proper words to use, right? So let's say that maybe your partner may not in the good mood. So in that situation, if you try to joke or if you try to say something nonsense, maybe it may cause a lot of problems, right? Therefore, if you are very mindful, if you have mindfulness, so you know what kind of words, proper words to use at that moment, right? So you can reduce some kind of problems if you use mindfulness all the time, always, okay? And also we have to be very mindful when we talk about relationships. Sometimes if you see a person of the opposite gender, so sometimes you see the kindness, or you think that, oh, that person is very kind, and he is very compassionate, he's compassionated, he's very good person. In that way, you have some kind of sympathy, you have some kind of feelings. So that kind of course, you know that loving kindness and also love and also unselfishness all those are good virtuous qualities, right? Good virtues. But sometimes if you are not mindful, those virtues may turn into lust sometime, right? If you are not mindful, if you are not very careful when you associate the person, so those good qualities may turn to lust. Isn't that so? So therefore, whenever you associate with the friends, you have to be very mindful all the time, right? Don't let all those feelings to turn your kindness to be lustful one. Okay, it's a matter of being mindful all the time in terms of talking about the relationship, and also the mental health. People who have good mindfulness are people who are very mindful all the time about their thoughts and the actions, physically, verbally, mentally, so they can reduce depressions, anxiety, and also they can manage their anger always. It's always to deal with our mind, because when the unwholesome thoughts arise in the mind, please do not welcome them. Please do not let them go in your mind. That is the only thing you can do in order to overcome from the depression and anxiety, right? Just be in the present moment. Just be mindful all the time. And also sometimes another benefit we can get, we can control our bad habits. Sometimes there are many opportunities for us to do bad habits or to practice or develop bad habits to harm others and harm to ourselves as well as. For example, drinking and addicted to devices and also excessive eating and other things like using alcohols. All those are considered as bad habits, right? Those bad habits are there because we are not mindful. When we are not mindful, those bad habits may develop in us. For example, if you have seen and if you have heard about the consequences of drug addictions, how people act, and what are the health problems of drug addiction, what are the health problems of alcohol. So if you have heard about those things, if you have seen those things, so you know that these are bad, these are not good. So having get that experience, having had that experience from the newspaper or from someone else, you can make a choice whether you want to whether you want to develop that bad habit or not, right? Sometimes excessive eating. Sometimes some people eat and all the time, 24 hours of the day, eat. Sometimes, right? But eating excessively may cause a lot of problems, health problems, physical appearance, right? May create a lot of problems. But if you have heard about, if you eat like this, I may get a huge body, like obesity and so on, right? Like other things like sugar, cholesterol. So if you know those consequences of the bad habits, then you can be mindful when you eat, right? So at night, if you are very mindful when you eat, okay, you can minimize, you can reduce eating a lot, right? Excessive eating, if you are very mindful all the time. So these are the good benefits that we can get if we are very mindful, and also we can become very happy and content all the time. When our mind is not traveling to the past and future, if you can keep your mind in this present moment, you can experience happy life and content life all the time. And also you can develop your gladness and kindness, right? Because anger is not in the mind, hatred is not in the mind, jealousy is not in the mind. So you are always in the present moment. So your mind is always with positive thoughts. So you can have a gladness and kindness. And also another benefit, you can increase compassion to yourself and others, right? If you have kindness and loving towards people, you can increase your compassion towards yourself and others. And also develop friendliness instead of anger, irritation, and stress and bitterness. Yeah. So all those negative thoughts may dispel from the mind if you are mindful not to welcome all those unwholesome tendencies in the mind. And also you can develop positive thoughts in the mind, right? Positive thoughts, because your mind is not always goes to the negative thoughts. You do not let your minds to go to the negative thoughts because you know the bad consequences of negative thoughts. So you always keep your mind with the positive thoughts and in the present moment. So you can develop positive thoughts if you are mindful all the time. And also increase calmness of your behavior. So our behavior, most of the time our bad behavior are due to irritation, stress, anger, right? Sometimes our behavior shaky and noisy because of these unwholesome tendencies of the mind. So when you decrease in the negative factors, and at the same time you increase the calmness of your mind, calmness of your behavior. If you have heard about the story of young Upatissa, later he was known and called Sariputta, right? The Assaji Thero's calmness may help him to approach the Thero, right? Calmness is a very important factor in our life. So you can develop your calmness by practicing mindfulness, right? Because your mind is always in the present moment. And also help us to perform well in studies, another benefit. Because if you can focus your mind into one single thing at the moment, at one time, so you can do it well, right? So let's say that you revise now. So if you do not let your mind to travel in the past and the future, your mind, you focus only this time, you revise in your lesson. But if you can focus your mind into this particular activity at that time without doing anything, that memory may go, that kind of things may go to your mind exactly, clearly and precisely, right? Because your mind is very pure and clear. So once you revise, those revision may go to your mind exactly it is. And also improve our own creativity and also the talents. Yeah, if those people who can control their mind into one particular thing at the same time without doing anything, they can actually produce a lot of things. They can actually produce a lot of creative things, right? Lot of creative thinkers and a lot of creativities are there in the modern time as a result of deep thinking, as a result of development of the mindfulness, right? Because they focus on one particular activity at the one time without doing any extra things, so they can come up with a lot of beautiful thoughts and come up with a lot of creative thoughts, right? They can produce a lot of creations at the time. You can practice that. You can do it, right? So when you, if you have some subject, so if you take it and if you concentrate on this matter, you can deeply think about that particular subject and you can come up with a lot of beautiful ideas and beautiful thoughts, right? In order to enhance your studies, yeah. And also you can reduce uneasiness, stress, and during the difficult times if you can use mindfulness. But you have to remember that mindfulness alone may not sufficient enough to be a successful person, but you have to, to reduce your stress, you have to manage your time, you have to work hard, you have to organize your things as well as, right? The mindfulness alone may not sufficient enough to reduce your stress. You have to manage your work, you have to work properly, you have to organize your things properly, then you can reduce your stress, right? So mindfulness is one part. And so those are the benefits that we can experience, practice of mindfulness. The another one is how can we improve this mindfulness? This is a method we can apply, we can use to develop our mindfulness. You can develop your mindfulness anytime, anywhere, with any posture. It doesn't have to be sit all the time to practice mindfulness. So by walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, all the time you can practice mindfulness. You can develop your mindfulness. And have you heard about the SMS? What do you mean by SMS? Not the text message that you send. The SMS means slowly, mindfully, and silently. So you can use this practical approach whenever you do things, right? You can do the things slowly, mindfully, and silently. If you use these three methods, definitely you can do the things very well. You can produce good result, slowly, mindfully, and silently, right? Most of the time, we always like to do things in a rush way, right? We don't have time to eat our breakfast. While we're driving, we eat breakfast, right? We don't have time to revise our lesson. While driving, we revise it. So we are very busy people, right? We have very busy lifestyle. But since you have very busy lifestyle, always you may experience a lot of troubles and mistakes and accidents in the life. But if you can do your things mindfully, silently, mindfully, and slowly, that's very good. You can do your things productively, more accurately, right? So this you can apply this SMS approach. And also, you can practice mindfulness always when you do your daily activities. Sati sampajanna, right? When you brush your teeth, when you eat your food, when you wash your face, when you take bath. So all those activities, when you do all those types of activities, if you can practice mindfulness. What do you mean by mindfulness? You have to be aware the activity that you are doing at this moment, at that moment, nothing else, right? You only had to do it, or you only had to be the present moment all the time. You have to be very aware of your activity. That is called mindfulness, right? So whenever you do those things, you can be mindful. And please do not do the many things at the same time. When you read book, do not watch TV at the same time. When you eat, do not do other things at the same time. Do the one thing at the one time, and then you can continue the other thing at the next time, right? One thing at a particular time, one thing at one time, not many things. If you do many things at one time, all the things will be unsuccessful. If you want to make one thing very successfully, you have to do it at the one time, not many things together. And also, practice of meditation, another practical approach. You can practice meditation, right? There are two types of meditation, samatha and vipassana, mindfulness meditation and insight meditation. So you can practice breathing exercise. Breathing exercise as a practice of mindfulness meditation, right? You sit one place and you bring your attention to your breath, and you do not focus to anything. You just focus to your breath, right? When you breathe in, you have to be aware I breathe in. When you breathe out, you have to be aware that I'm breathing out, right? And also you can be aware of rising and falling of your abdomen, right? You can bring your attention to that physical appearance or physical differences, physical activities when you breathe in. So the meditation is one of the most important techniques that we can use to develop our mindfulness. So among them, the Buddha's advice is to us to practice mindfulness of breathing. So the breathing is one of the most important and effective methods to practice our mindfulness. So sit properly somewhere and practice mindfulness. Actually, I plan to practice mindfulness meditation for a short time today, but since we do not have much time, so maybe in the next time we can practice mindfulness meditation for a while. And this is very good. And you can come, actually. We have mindfulness meditation every Friday from 8:15 to 9:15, 1 hour. This is relaxation meditation. In that meditation, totally conducted in English. And we practice 45 minutes of meditation, and after that, we have 15 minutes for Q&A. So if you have some problems, you can ask me or the other venerable, so we can help you to get your questions clear, your problems clear. So please come and practice meditation. Please come and rejoice the meditation. So this is all about our mindfulness. So mindfulness is a very important requirement for our success, for our life, for our daily life. As a youth member, as a youth, it is a very important factor for you. So please develop mindfulness all the time, right? You know the benefits that you had to get by practicing mindfulness, and you know the methods to practice, methods to develop mindfulness. So I wish you all the best. I hope you will be able to increase your mindfulness further and further. Thank you for listening. I wish you all the best. Now we can transfer merits to divine beings and departed relatives. Because you know that coming to Dhamma discussions or Dhamma sermon actually produce a wholesome merits, right? Positive merits in the mind. So those merits we can transfer to divine beings and celestial beings and also departed relatives, right? That is our culture. Usually after we done any kind of wholesome activity or any kind of meritorious activities, we usually transfer merits to departed relatives and divine beings. So likewise, we can do it today also, right? So, okay, first offer those things and then we can transfer merit. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So now we can transfer merits to the divine being and celestial beings. May all the divine beings be able to come forward and rejoice in these good merits thus we accumulate today. And may all the merits be with them. And may all the divine beings rejoice in these good merits. And having rejoiced, may they be able to enhance their divine qualities further and further. And in return, may all the divine beings extend their love, protections, guidance towards all the members of youth group, and also to the executive committee members of youth group and all the participants who are here today. May you be blessed, may you be guided to the happiness with the blessings of divine beings. May the divine beings protect your family members, may the divine being protect you all, and ultimately may all the divine beings attain the bliss of Nibbana. Within that, we recite these stanzas together. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga maiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga maiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga maiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu tvam sadha. And also we can remember all the departed relatives any departed relatives if you have in your family member, in your family lineage. May all the departed relatives who have passed away in the name of your family may come forward and rejoice in these good merits, and having taken part in these good merits, may all the departed relatives be able to lead their life happily, peacefully, having only reborn in pleasant abodes, pleasant realms, and eventually may all the departed relatives be able to attain the bliss of Nibbana. Within that, we can recite these stanzas to give the merits to the departed relatives. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo, idam me ñāti Sukhitā hontu ñātayo, idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Finally, I wish you all the best and good luck and good health, especially the youth members of Dhamma Sermon Buddhist Temple and the executive committee members of the youth group, and I wish you all the best. And thank you very much for organizing this kind of such a beautiful and wonderful event for other students to learn and other friends to learn some Dhamma. And I hope to see many upcoming events in the future, or Dhamma sharing or any other wholesome activities as you wish. And I strongly recommend you to come every Friday 8:15 to 9:15 if you have time, 1 hour. You can spend time with us practicing meditation. So please come and join us, and I wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you very much.
Avasarai Swaming Vahansa. It was a great Dhamma sermon and relevant to all of us in managing our daily lives. We would also like to thank the temple committee, our teachers and parents for all of your support in organising this Dhamma sermon. We kindly invite everyone to go to the new Dhani hall to have some refreshments and to stay back a few minutes to discuss plans for our upcoming events. Thank you.